asked people what there was to do. And a lot of you said, well, leave Austin, it's not Texas.
I'm glad you asked, my fine British fellow. Don't mind the braid, it's a temporary thing. And before we get into it, I'm going to say this is going to be a long fucking video. Here's your warning. Scroll away if you don't want to listen to me talk for over a minute. Okay, when it comes to Texas, there's a very real but mixed reason why a bunch of us say that about Austin. Okay? And it's not just, a political thing, or a cultural, or a social, or an economic thing. It's not religious. It's not even a school of thought. Bear with me. Austin is a very blended mix of a bunch of different, dichotomies. You have a lot of people who are from Austin, born and raised in Austin for generations. And they don't all just vote Republican. They don't all vote Democrat. They're varied in their schools of political alliance. But then you also have a weird dichotomy between people with money and people without. People with money tend to, live in nice houses in gentrified areas. We'll get into the gentrification here in a minute. But the people without money also tend to live in areas that they hold onto, like Chicano Park. Chicano Park has had a car show every weekend for over 60 years. And it was a point of contention with some transplants who moved to Texas from other places. And by that, I always remember one article about this lady whose literal name was Karen from California who was complaining about the car shows. And it's like, you moved to a place called Chicano Park, but you're too scared to hang out with Chicanos. Got it. But that's what I mean. Because these expensive condos were built literally next to Chicano Park, which is in a traditionally poor, low-income Hispanic neighborhood. Nothing wrong with that. I grew up in one. But that's the thing with gentrification. You have all these land developers that found cheap land, bought it all up, put expensive condos in the area, which drew in expensive businesses, which raised up rent and chased a lot of the people who had been there for generations out. And that's a common problem. The cost of living is another problem. Because Austin is now so popular and so hot, you can't get a cheap house there. It's impossible. It's next to impossible. But then you also have this strange mix of different ethnic groups, religions, and political ideologies. And that's where it gets complicated, because there's a lot of old Republican families there, and a lot of old Democrat families. And there's a lot of new Democrats and new Republicans moving in. And they keep changing and buffering and moving, and it's created such a weird environment to where you'll have a city that pretends to be progressive but is more conservative and traditional than it really lets on. And the music scene. Austin is the music capital of Texas. But it's smaller than the DFW metropolitan area. It's way smaller than Houston. And it's smaller than where I live. The metro area I live in has over 4 million people and almost fills the damn county. And yet, Austin gets preferential treatment for a lot of events, like concerts. If you look at a lot of these concerts that are doing national or world tours, if they stop in Texas, they stop in 3 cities: Houston, DFW, Austin. Occasionally, they'll stop in El Paso. Rarely, they come to San Antonio, which is the area I live in. So it's also built a lot of resentment. But Austin is the music capital. It's also kind of the film capital of Texas. It's the LA of Texas. And that's why it's so contentious. That's why a lot of us are like, nope, go elsewhere. If you want good Mexican food, go 35 minutes south on 35. Stop at the first hole in the wall you find that looks like you might get sick. That's good Mexican food. But it's a weird dichotomy. It's hard to explain. Anyways, the rant is over. Yeah, so Austin's a very complex issue. Not an easy one to answer. Oh well, I babbled for over 5 minutes. I'll see y'all later. Bye.